Hello everyone and welcome to the third episode of Fireside Stories Lockdown Edition. It is nice and cold here this morning. I think it was about 3 degrees when I got up, so the fire the fire definitely helps. Today's story that I'm going to share with you is about a special leopardess that I met during my time at Londolozi as a full-time guide. And the reason why I wanted to talk about it was just to give you a little bit of an idea of how resilient these animals really are. She was known as the Nanga female, and during my time there she broke her front right paw. How she did that, we don't know. We have no idea. It could have been either hunting, it could have maybe been in a tree, maybe she had a spat with another leopard and it got hooked on a branch, or maybe she was mauled by something, but it was quite badly damaged to the point that she couldn't bear any weight on it. So obviously this becomes a bit of an issue. It's a hunting issue for her. She's not able to successfully hunt large prey. But luckily for leopards, they are very resilient, and being a solitary animal, unlike a pride of lions, for example, you've got a pride of 10 lions and they catch something like a mongoose or scrub hare, it barely touches sides for one lion. So they've got to kill larger prey species, impala, things like inyala, up to buffalo, just to, in order for the whole pride to be able to have a good feed and have a full belly. Whereas leopards, being solitary, other than when they've got cubs, they only really have to look after themselves. So you'll often find that they'll prey on things from lizards, so monitor lizards, cane rats, birds like guinea fowls, all the way up to something like an inyala, so anything in between. So what you find with leopards is it's not always about hunting big prey animals. You know, often small prey species such as guinea fowls or scrub hare just gives them a top-up of energy and allows them a little bit more time before they have to try and catch something larger to sustain themselves for a bit longer. But getting back to this female leopard, she had damaged her paw very, very badly, to the point where she couldn't even really climb a tree. So she was at great risk, not only just from a hunting point of view, but also from another predator point of view. You know, lions struggle to climb trees. Yes, they can, but they're a lot bulkier. It's a lot more difficult for them. They can't reach the high branches, so it's difficult for them. Hyenas can't climb trees at all. So it's only really other leopards that could potentially corner her or catch her up in a tree. So without that ability, it becomes a lot more difficult for her. Now the story comes in. We had gone about a week without seeing her. We were obviously very worried about her. We had no idea what had happened to her. Is she still alive? Is she still hunting? Is she still able to hunt for herself? So one morning I decided to head up into our northern section, the northeastern section of Londolozi Marthley, which was her territory. There's also a nice big male that we often saw there. So what the point of our drive was just to go up into this northeastern section of the property and explore. It was boundaries with neighboring properties as well, so we would often do a bit of a boundary ride just to see what animals had come over into our property during the night, or what animals from our side had crossed out during the night. And it wasn't long into drive before we picked up tracks. We found tracks of this female leopard, and I say of this female leopard because the trackers are so good in what they do, that they can identify just by the way that a specific animal walks, or a mark on their pad. They can identify a specific leopard, and obviously this female leopard, having a broken front paw, it was very easy to pick up on her tracks. You could see how she would limp and almost drag that foot. You could see the hair marks where she had been dragging it. You could see how every couple of meters she would then lie down and obviously rest, because it took up a lot of energy. And firstly, it was a great sign. We knew that she was still alive. What kind of condition she was in, we didn't really know. And we carried on driving, and we came to a small bachelor herd of male impala. And the tracks had just gone off the road, so we thought, maybe she's somewhere in the area. It was fairly dense, the grass was quite long, and we stopped and we were looking at these male impalas, and they seemed a little bit uneasy, so we thought, maybe she had passed through the area, they had alarmed at her, and she, obviously being shy and elusive, they don't like to draw attention, because as soon as other animals start alarm calling, that then often brings in things like hyenas or leopards for potential food, because they know that maybe lions had killed something, or maybe a leopard had killed something, and hyenas, being opportunistic, will always then follow up and just see if there's an easy meal available. So we sat with these impalas for, I must say, probably, it wasn't long, about 5 minutes or so, when suddenly my tracker said, there. And there this female leopard was sitting. She was sitting behind a bush, and she was just watching these male impala. Now, she hadn't moved. She was just sitting there. We could just see the top of her head as she was watching these impala. She must have been about 30 meters away from these impala. And now, knowing what her history and that she had a broken paw, we thought, there's no chance that she's going to go after these impala. Already being injured, to risk another injury on top of that, it would be silly. And we sat there watching, and all of a sudden she went low into the grass, and she started to stalk these impala, and it was just about 3 male impalas, 3 impala rams standing off to the side. And what she had in her favor here was that there was a long grass, and there was also a lot of small shrubs, some small guarri trees. And we watched her go through the grass, and then she would stop, she'd pause, she'd lift her head, look at the impalas. The impalas started to relax, they started to put their heads down and started feeding, and every time all 3 impalas' heads were down, she would creep closer and closer and closer, and you could see from the way that she was stalking that her paw was still sore. Now this is high risk, high reward. We couldn't see what her body condition was like, but obviously for a leopard in this kind of condition now, going after a strong impala ram that weighs 60-65 kilograms against her, which is probably about 40-45 kilograms, it's a massive risk for her, especially being injured as it was. So we didn't know how it was going to turn out, if she was going to stalk up to them and then decide, oh, it's not actually worth it. But also for her being solitary, she doesn't have any other members to rely on, so it's all up to her. And she stalked closer and closer and closer, and she sat behind this one little guarri bush, and she sat there for, must have been about 20 minutes or so, and we all obviously waiting in anticipation to see what's going to unfold. And one of the impalas actually turned and started walking directly towards this guarri bush. And at one point they must have been about 2 meters apart, and she still lay flat in the grass. We could just see with binoculars the tips of her ears. This impala was feeding, kept its head down, and suddenly, boom, there was this eruption, and this leopard came out from the guarri bush, grabbed the impala, flicked up in the air, and it was actually quite incredible to see, because it happened so quickly, but I still remember clearly how this leopard manipulated itself over this impala's body and grabbed it by the throat, and there wasn't a single sound. The other 2 impalas snorted and sounded the alarm, very dense vegetation, so they moved a bit further away, but this leopard grabbed the impala by the throat. The impala was standing, the leopard was on its back, on its throat, claws into the side of its body, started to suffocate this impala. And eventually the impala succumbed, and I said to the guests, we're not going to go any closer. Obviously, don't want to pressurize the leopard at all, especially if she is injured. We've got impalas that have now alarm called, so there could be other predators that maybe move in, and obviously wanting to give her the best chance possible to have a good feed and to hide this from any other predators comes before anything. So I didn't want to switch on the engine and move the vehicle. And I remember where we were positioned was there was a small embankment with a tree that grew at about a 45-degree angle. And she suffocated the impala, and she must have been about 25 meters away from this tree. And she stopped and she looked around, obviously scanning the area for any other potential threats. And then she picked up this impala and showed brute strength. You could see she was battling. She was struggling to pull with her broken leg, but she picked up this impala and she dragged it. and she dragged it, and every couple of meters she would stop, look around. You could see that she hadn't eaten for a while. She was skin and bone, and she had this mottled coat. You could see she wasn't in great condition, and you could feel the energy in the vehicle. Everybody, although it's raw nature, it's never easy to see an animal be killed, but you could feel the energy in this vehicle, having known the story about this leopard, and now seeing her struggle, and seeing her pretty much go in high risk, high reward to catch this impala. She's caught it, she's dragging it. She eventually got to the base of this tree. She took about a 5-minute break as she obviously was out of breath. And then she managed to somehow drag this impala up this tree that was at a 45-degree angle. And I think, on a day like this, everything was just in her favor. She was just so fortunate. She managed to get it up into the tree. You could see her leg was still very badly hurt. But we were all so happy on the vehicle that she was able to drag this into the tree. So to put it in a safe place to stash it away from hyenas and other predators. And she then started to feed on it, and she had a good feeding of it. We sat there for about half an hour while she sat in the tree feeding on it, and then she eventually came down limping and hobbling as the day started to warm up, and she found a bit of shade with a nice full belly and started to rest. But my whole point of the story was just to think of how resilient these animals are and what they actually go through. And for that cat to have a performance like that on that morning was simply incredible. It must have taken every bit of strength that she had in her body to be able to bring that impala down and to stash it up in a tree. And I think it just goes to show how incredible nature is. Things like that happen to us humans. It's straight off to the hospital. We get a cast, we get fixed, we get sorted, we get 6 weeks off, or 6 weeks of recovery time. We don't have to go out and hunt for our own food, so our environment's a lot safer. So breaking a bone for us isn't as life-threatening as it would be for a solitary animal like a leopard. So an incredible story. It was amazing to have seen her after not having seen her for a week, not knowing if she was alive, how she was doing, and just to see the whole hunt go down, and to see the strength and the manner in which she managed to catch this impala was simply amazing. So from my side, that's my Fireside story for this week. I hope that you all enjoyed it. I will be sitting down with Alistair next, and we will be discussing our time at Londolozi that we spent together and his first game drive. But for now, I'm going to say goodbye. Hope you have a good day, and I'll catch you all soon. Cheers. Bye.